How are you? Welcome on in. Hey, listen, I'm only stopping in for a few minutes and this is all audio. Yeah, I decided to go live and go audio. So if it's your very first time listening to me, hi, everybody. I'm Sharon, RN2 CEO. And yeah, just wanted to say hi and definitely just talk a little bit tonight. I just want to chat some. I sent out a quick message to those of you who listen to me or follow me and on different platforms. And of course, it's a way that I stay connected to my audience. And I was able to let you guys know real quick that there's something that I want to talk about. And I decided to bring it on over here. So here we go. So, yeah, what do you do when life steps in? How to navigate, how to shift, how to just show up when life steps in. And I think that is so important. Recently I had an experience where, something happened in my life, and many of you have experienced that, whether it's a loved one, whether it's a job situation, whether it's a relationship, whatever it is, or something happened and you still needed to show up. I'm certain that there were days that you did not feel like showing up at all. You decided that, you know what, I've had enough and I'm just going to chill. I'm just going to go off the grid. That does happen. But when you have, when you are in the moment of, when life shows up, when you're in those moments, you don't, sometimes you don't have a choice, right? Life continues on. Things need to be done. And especially for those of you who are entrepreneurs. And so many of the entrepreneurs and it's not just for entrepreneurs, really, because I say especially because I am an entrepreneur. And so I wanted to really not so much say target, but definitely speak to the entrepreneurs out here, or speak to those who are maybe on a mission, understanding your purpose in life, your callings. Some of you may be at the place where you're still looking for that. And there are those who are saying, you know what, I'm on a mission. Here's what I know that I'm called to do. I'm placed here to do this. I have a specific calling on my life, but then life itself shows up and it intervenes. What do you do? And one of the things that I would say to you, one of the first thing is just allow yourself to be in that moment. Allow yourself to definitely say, hey, this is happening right now, and I just can't be my 100%. It does happen. So when life steps in, for me, it was just like, you know what, this is happening right now, especially if you're conscious enough to say, to understand that this is happening right now, and I need to just allow it to happen. Meaning, whatever the situations are, whatever the steps, whether it's grief, whether it's just feeling isolation, whether it's just like, you know what, I'm just having a moment. Yeah, and whatever other support you may need, definitely within those times, but it is going to happen. So yes, my first thing is saying just allow it, just go through it, because sometimes you try to control the narrative. Sometimes you may need to step back a little bit. And that's what this is about. What do you do when life intervenes, when life shows up, when certain situations show up, and you need to be at your best? If you're an entrepreneur, sometimes you just have to pause. There is power in the pause, right? When they say there's power in the pause, it is so true that sometimes you need a moment just to breathe. And then you say, all right, I'm ready for this. I'm getting all the support that I need. So yes, you can say, yes, I'm just going to go through it, because it is life. And so when you're in the midst of it, you may not feel that way. Another thing I would say when life steps in and you have other things going on is to stay committed, stay in communication. Staying in communication will say so much about you and who you are. When you go off grid, just like when you totally fall off and you feel like not responding, you feel like not showing up, that in itself is a test. And I would say that, what are some of the things that you can have? Perhaps you have somebody who can support you. Yes, you're going to allow life to happen and it takes place, but right now, staying in communication, staying connected, or just to let somebody know this is happening and I need certain things in place. Can you handle that for a moment? And for most entrepreneurs, that's the thing, especially if you're a solopreneur. How do you do that? Do you have somebody who can support you in all of that? And then the next thing I would say, once again, is really, and I mentioned that, I hinted towards that, that when life steps in, make sure that you have a community, a village around you. Building strong relationships, they are so important. A strong relationship, a strong community, I should say, a relationship of people around you that can support you can make all the difference in the world. Because in those moments when you are feeling as if there's just no way that I can handle all of this, right? You have someone who could definitely support you. So I say, once again, when you are in those moments, when you are in moments when you feel like I cannot have another conversation, I could just not respond. It's just none of my business right now. I can't deal with it. Allow yourself to experience those things because sometimes you are going to need that because life will step in. And yeah, finding where you need to stay in communication. I always say, to my entrepreneurs out there, those of you, if you have that email list, hit that email list, send something out, let them know what's happening. If you have an assistant or if you just have a virtual assistant, whatever it is, you can give that person as much responsibility as possible to stay connected with the people who are connected to you, the people who care about you, the people who you may have things that need to get out, right? That you will say, okay, it's all on me. How do I do that? And that's why it's important that we have these conversations before it actually happens, right? So we're going to need those things in place. Sometimes automation can really support you. Yes, when life steps in, automation can definitely support you. Some people will say, I have to make sure that my social media sites are updated. This is for my entrepreneurs, right? I have to make sure that, my videos go out. And so some of the things, that's when automation will be able to support you, definitely. And so I do hope that you guys are finding this useful. And like I said, I wanted to come audio tonight because I said I would come on. If you're listening up this far, I am going to say to you, thank you for being here. Definitely, I want you to hit the notification bell, subscribe, definitely, and stay connected because I'm going to just bring you different forms and move around. You can see some of the videos here. So, what are your thoughts on that when life steps in, allowing yourself to definitely just go through the process of it all and making sure that you're staying in communication. And number three, of course, making sure that you have a good community, a village around you, people who can support you. And the great thing about these things that I've mentioned, especially one and number two and three, it's just some of these things you can set up in advance to make sure that you are staying in communication. There are things that you can have in place in some of your businesses. You may have to have standard operating procedures. What do you do? Many of you remember, especially if you live where it's cold, right? They would have a snow chain, meaning when something happens, who calls whom. So it's just the step one, two, three, four. So you will outline that. Do you have that for you? When life steps in, what happens? And sometimes, too, you can even look at it. You don't even have to wait until something happens. You may have somebody in your company or somebody who works for you, and most of the things that they are doing, it's not adding up. And then you have something you can go back to. Here are the standard operating procedures. Here are the things that need to go in place. So when life steps in, allowing it to happen, making sure that you have systems in place so you can stay in communication, so you can stay connected, and definitely building a community of people around you. Do you network? Do you have people that to say if something were to happen, here's where all my important information is. This is who you would call next. Here's the next person in line. That's part of the communication, but it's also a little bit part of your village. And if you take it over to the space of where you say, well, I don't have a business, I don't have any of that going on. Well, who is the person next to you, the next person to be notified, or the next person who can definitely show up for you? And some people do it as such. They may have a family chat, they may have a group, you may have groups or organizations that you're part of, and maybe a few people will get together and can really support you in what you're doing. So that's why I love when I talk about when life steps in, what are some of the things that you can choose to do? Allow it to happen, stop resisting it so much, get the help and support that you need. And that's really important when life steps in. Also, once again, making sure that you are staying in communication. Have some things in place that if for some reason people can't get a hold of you, you have something in place and people there definitely who can support you. And of course, your community. So I wanted to bring this to you. It's not very long. You can go back and listen to this. Once again, if you haven't subscribed to us, definitely do, because I'm going to bring you different, and that's what I love doing, just bringing you information, things just straight from my heart, things that make sense, things that people are experiencing, and of course, all the other things that we do here, the travel, we'll talk about business, personal development, and so forth. Really important. That's the thing that makes you that person. That's the thing that gives you, just make you unique. Everybody said, oh, you need to have a channel that's so unique. It has a niche. Absolutely. I have no problem with that. But sometimes too, you just want to hear conversations, conversations from the heart. And that's what I'm speaking to you about tonight. Yes, I too have had challenges when life has stepped in and when I needed to pivot, when I needed to shift, when I needed to say, all right, so this is what it is. Okay. And in the moments and in the midst of you going through, you may not be able to think that clearly. And for me, let me just say for me, okay, I'm not going to generalize, but when life steps in, sometimes things can be devastating. Relationships, could be job, it could be your status, whatever, has happened that can really knock you off your post. Here you are, you're gliding through life, you're feeling good, and then something happens. And that's when we call it when life steps in, the shift, right? When that happens a few years ago, we had that situation where everybody had to, we heard this word so much, when everyone had to pivot, okay? And it was something became our new norm, something that hasn't happened in what they say over 100 years. It was a new norm for us. We needed to learn how to adapt. We needed to learn how to show up in those spaces and that particular time. And so many of us, we thought, people thought, oh, I could never survive without a job, and so forth. And yet many of us survived, right? Many of us had to do things to take care of ourselves better and our family members. And so when life steps in, you're going to decide to make a decision, right? Decide to make a decision, whether it's when it comes to your health and your wellness, or when it comes to your finances. You're just deciding that I am going to make this shift. Whether it's my relationship, I'm going to make a shift with that. And more than anything, like I said, to stay in communication. What we found out also that was really important was having good people around you, finding ways how to stay in communication. Many of us, we got on Zoom, that's how we had our family meetings. A lot of people, that's how they, whether it was church, whatever it was, or the conferences, everyone had to find a new way of being, a new way of showing up. So yes, definitely, when life steps in, you are going to find yourself being more adventurous and allow yourself to do that. All right. Okay. Hopefully you found this to be good. Hopefully you found this to be quite interesting. And let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. Take a listen to this. What are some of the things that you found yourself doing as we say, when life shows up. And I am going to definitely look in the comments because I want to hear what you have to say. All right, everybody. I'm Sharon, RN2 CEO, recognizing you need to nurture yourself and your business. And I think I may come back more often with audio because, as you can hear, audio is my thing. Audio, I definitely love. After doing radio for so many years, I absolutely love it. All right, guys, until next time, I'm going to see how we're going to end this, and then we'll chat soon.